Hi, welcome to Wise Words TV. Today I'm joined by Caroline Cookson from Cookson Partners. They are a pricing and growth strategy consultancy.
Yeah.
Hi, Caroline. Thank you so much
Oh,
for being here today. So I have been really excited about this conversation. I really find pricing interesting. Honestly, I never really thought of it as a niche, but now when I came across your business and I had a look on your LinkedIn and your website and things, and I was like, yes, that is so valuable for businesses. So tell me a bit about how you got into that. I know you've got a bit of a background in some of the big four, right?
yeah, in the Big Four in accountancy, and then I moved into the kind of more corporate environment. I spent most of my career working for a spirits company. I started out in finance, and then I worked across commercial roles internationally and in strategy, analytics, and a bit of marketing thrown in there as well. I was there for 17 years, so I got this real breadth of experience across all the different parts of the business.
Yeah.
I left at the start of last year. From there, I decided to set up my own business. I thought it's time to do my own thing, right? Give that
Yeah.
a go.
Yeah.
I decided to go down the pricing strategy route because pricing is something that sits across all of the elements. It's like finance, it's rooted in numbers, right? And modeling and all those kind of things. There's a lot of strategy in it. Marketing, positioning, right? What you price
Yes.
says a lot about who you are and what your customers can expect from you.
Yeah.
It says something about you as a business.
Yeah.
There's also the commercial reality of actually what works, right? How do I get a price increase through? What's actually going to work for me? And on top of that, there's a consumer psychology element into it as well, right? How do you present your pricing in the best way? And
Yeah.
so it's got all those different elements of all the different parts of the business that I really enjoyed working in, and it pulls it together. And it's always a tricky topic as well, right? And it's a bit science. And so it's nice to be able to kind of help people with those pricing decisions. And
Yeah.
because it's something most people find quite tricky.
And I think what was really interesting was how you talked about how it touches on so many different facets of the business. Traditionally, marketing was the four Ps.
Yeah.
So it was people, product, maybe place, and price was one of the four Ps, right?
Yes.
So that was like the marketing team, like, were in charge of that. That was their domain.
Yeah.
I don't see that happen. What's your take on that in the big businesses now? Because I don't feel like marketing have that kind of as
Yeah.
much control. What do you think?
I mean, a lot of businesses have kind of moved away from pricing and become more of a commercial and a finance decision and a
Yeah.
marketing decision. But it is very important that marketing is a part of that, right? I see the price, in my perspective, it starts with marketing. It starts with our positioning. Do we
Okay.
stand? What value do we offer? What do our consumers think about us?
Yeah.
And then bit by bit, it moves through to, okay, what's our price on shelf? How are we going to promote? How much are we going to charge our customers for it?
Yeah.
That should very much start with the marketing side of things. But you're right,
Yeah.
it has kind of over the last few years become something that's moved more away from marketing
Yeah.
into more numbers territory. But it really needs to be something that kind of everyone across the business in all those different functions, that they have their input on it as well.
Yeah. So when you go into a business to do the consultancy and the pricing, do you look at that? Do you say, let's start with marketing and trickle down, or how do you usually tackle it?
That's it. So starting with the customer, right? The person who's
Right.
going to buy your product, it's always
Yeah.
important to start there, because no
Yeah.
matter what you think of your product, right, or how good it is, it's that person who's making that final decision that is the really important person, right? So as much as you can understand about your customer, your positioning in their mind, what they think of you, how willing they are to spend money on what you're offering, how you compare to your competitors, all of those, that's your
Yeah.
starting point. So that's where
Yeah.
I begin. That
Yeah.
customer understanding, the competitive landscape, and then looking at, okay, how much margin does that mean that we can make? And then just
Yes.
charge that. But that's not a very good way of doing it, because you're forgetting about the person that you're selling it to, and they're the most important person in all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's brand perception. The price that you have, that you charge, is absolutely related to how people perceive your brand to be, whether you're a luxury brand or e-commerce, whether you're luxury or more affordable. I'm really interested in the consumer psychology side. That's a big part of what I do as well. So from my end, when I'm writing website copy, I always say to my clients, include pricing or a starting from price on your website. I do tend to recommend that. And I have some psychology tips and tricks about how you position pricing on your page. So price anchoring and that kind of thing, putting your most expensive first so that,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily tricking people, but just using psychology in a way that helps the pricing be perceived as not a negative thing, let's say.
Yeah.
From the consumer psychology, I'd love to hear some of your ideas around that and pricing.
Yeah, so there's the anchoring, right? So, you know,
Yes.
if you mention a higher number first, then that gets anchored in people's minds, and anything you
Yes.
mention after that is all relative. So, as much as you can give people different options,
Yeah.
people are much more likely to go for the second cheapest option than the cheapest option. If you give
Right.
them one thing, they're less likely to buy than if you give them three and have a more basic and then a much higher priced one. They're more likely to go for the middle one.
Right.
Like
Yeah. Yes.
9 feels a lot cheaper than £5. But
Yes.
actually, when you're offering something that's premium or luxury, you want to go for the round price point, because that's
Yeah.
when you're saying, I'm worth it, right?
Yeah.
I am premium, I do cost more, and that's okay, because you know you're getting something good in return. So
Yeah.
there's some interesting psychology around those ending price points as well.
Yes. There's a thing around using the number 7, wasn't there? So
Oh, yes.
97 is
Yeah.
a big thing. You'll see a lot of that. Yeah, I find all that so interesting, especially the kind of anchoring side of things. Oh, I was just thinking of another one when you were talking about the numbers, the social proof. So putting the most popular badge on pricing tiers and that kind of thing. Do
Yeah.
you, when you do your consultancy, do you go into that side of it as well, actually, how to display the pricing? Or
Yes.
yes, you do all that. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how to present it, what kind of a price point you're aiming for, depends. If you're a service business, you control that, right? But if you're selling a
Yeah.
product, you've got to know what you're aiming for,
Yeah.
and why. And I think that can be
Yeah.
really important and powerful.
Yeah. I think as well what you said before about it being so interesting how people just think, okay, how much does this cost me to make if it's a
Yeah.
product, let's say, and then how much margin do we want to make? Okay, there's our pricing strategy.
Yeah.
So how would somebody go about pricing their service when you don't have those figures to go on? It's just your time, let's say.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a lot harder, right?
Yeah.
Because ideally you would have a good view of the market and what other people are charging. I'd always start with that, right? Looking at the market perspective and understanding, okay, who else is in there? What are they doing? And how are
Yeah.
you different? And what extra value are you bringing?
Yeah.
That's a lot harder in a service category, because people don't often have their prices on their website and things like that. But as
Yeah.
much intel as you can get is always really good.
Yeah.
You can use a day rate and just have a good idea of what your day rate is. That can be quite a useful piece of information, not necessarily the final point, but you know, if you do have an idea of how long it's going to take you and how much you would traditionally charge on a day rate, then that can really help you pull something together as well. Again, it's good to understand where your day rate sits versus what's available in the wider market. In an ideal world, you'd be looking at what value am I bringing and then charging the proportion of that, right? So, you know, if I'm going to increase your sales by £2,000, charging £500 is very reasonable, right? So there's that element too, but that can also be a little bit harder to pin down. You've got a competitor who's charging less than that, then that's going to be difficult as well. So it's that's quite a really topic. It's a balance. So it's taking as much information as you can and taking that balance of judgment in terms of this is where it sits. And then it's trial and error, right? So you've got to put it out there, you've got to try it, see what works, learn from that, and then readjust and continue. Because it's not a perfect answer, but as much as you can test and learn, you'll end up in a better place.
Yeah. And I think as well, something I always say to my clients when I'm talking about writing the copy on their website with pricing is like, I think people have this misconception that their clients or their customers are looking for the cheapest option and they're on the website looking for, oh, what's the cheapest way I can get this done? And so people think they need to price at the bottom of what they would like to charge. But actually, and we know this ourselves, like when I go on a website, I'm not always looking to say I want to work with a designer or whatever. I'm not looking to find the cheapest designer. I'm looking to find the one that fits the role or the project that I've got. And that could be an experience level. I'm looking for someone really experienced. Therefore, I'm going to gauge that they're going to charge more if they've got more experience. And so I think that's a real misconception that people need to work around, is that people aren't always looking for the cheapest option.
Sometimes you want to be reassuringly expensive, because people also want to know that they're getting quality and money. Understanding your value and, you know, have you got all those years of experience and you're charging for that? That's really important as well, to be like, no, this is what I'm worth.
Yeah.
And the scary thing about that is that not everyone's going to be able to afford you. And that's okay, right? It's accepting that and saying, okay, I'm priced here because I offer something special. I'm a more experienced graphic designer, for example.
Yeah.
But actually the ones that I'll end up with the right ones, right? The ones who can afford me.
Is there a particular industry or type of client that you like to work with that you think you can really make a difference with?
Yeah, so my background is in consumer products, right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
that's kind of my forte, and that's what I really like, food and
Yeah.
drink. But there's a lot to get your head into there, right? Because,
Yeah.
when you're selling to a consumer, you're selling your brand, right? You've got to have the positioning right, you've got to have the price right. There's a lot to do with how often do you discount, how do you stay competitive, how do you get listings, and how do you keep those listings as well. There's a lot that goes on in that area, and I find that quite fun and interesting. Personally, I get quite excited about new products as well. So I've been going to these events and trying lots of new things out there, and I really enjoy doing that as well. As much as I can help out these new brands that are doing something different in their category, I think that's really fun too.
Yeah. Do you find yourself looking at the price of things and thinking, oh,
Oh, all the time.
do you do that all the time?
Yeah, all the time. Like, my daughter had a hockey tournament and we went to McDonald's afterwards as a treat.
Yeah.
And I bought a Big Mac Grinch meal, and it really annoyed me because I realized afterwards that they'd upgraded me without showing me the cheaper pricing option. And so I found myself getting very annoyed. And then I kept like, turn that into a LinkedIn post, and suddenly something good comes out of it. But I'm always like nowadays looking at, okay, what looking at prices of stuff, but also looking at the way that prices are presented, and that balance of how do you price ethically, right? So you want to be able to maximize your profit depending on what your goal is as a business. But I think as we get more and more clever with data and AI and all of these kind of things, doing that in an ethical way where you're helping people make decisions but not tricking them into decisions, I think is whenever I see that not being done, I'm like, yeah.
Call the McDonald's CEO and have a word about that. Yeah, I bet. All right, so talking about wise words and the kind of theme around this, I wanted to ask you about this year. So we're coming to the end of 2025 and looking into 2026. Has there been anything this year that you've said yes to that you feel like it's been a really wise decision, and maybe there was some wise words around how you came to that decision?
Yeah. Well, I started my business during this year, so that's kind of
right.
But more specifically, there was a masterclass that I was invited to do. Very last minute, someone had dropped out, so I got the amazing opportunity, and that was a real moment of, can I do this? Presenting to a room full of startup people at an event I hadn't been to before on pricing, and I hadn't done that presentation before. And so that was a real, like, I always knew I was going to do it, but like there was a moment where I was like, oh my goodness, can I do this? It's crazy. I'm so glad I did, because I pulled it together. It went really well. I got so many great contacts out of it. I met a lot of interesting people, and it was just really rewarding. That's something that was scary, but I'm really glad that I did it.
Yeah, I was actually talking earlier to someone about about being bold and what have you got to lose, and having that mentality, and just the idea of in an uncomfortably excited state. And if you're uncomfortably excited, then you're probably doing something the right way. And I think that's such an important point, in that, like, it doesn't have to be really scary all the time. You kind of have the butterflies, but it's uncomfortable, but it's exciting. And it sounds like that was that for you. Oh, wow.
I really like it.
Yeah. The nice feeling afterwards, is it not so nice before? It can be scary, but
yeah, I enjoy doing that kind of thing, actually.
Oh, good. So starting your business, that's a big yes. Taking opportunities. I was actually listening to a podcast earlier today about wise words from very old people about what they would tell to younger people in their life. And the biggest one that came out was that idea of just taking opportunities, just saying yes as much as you can, and just because you're very unlikely to regret the things you've done. You're more likely to regret what you didn't do. So I think that's really cool that you did that. Okay, one more wise words question for you then. Since you have just started your business, this is probably quite apt for you. So is there anything that a mantra or a motto or a quote or anything that you maybe have written down that you look back to for motivation, or anything that kind of you run your business by?
So at the moment, feel the fear and do it anyway, right?
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it's starting out is putting yourself in a lot of new situations, right?
Yes.
And what I like about feel the fear and do it anyway is it acknowledges that it's scary, right? So
Yeah.
that's important to say what I am doing,
Yeah.
yourself launching new products. I'm
Yeah.
allowed to feel scared, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that's been something that I keep, every time I have to do something that's quite like big, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, that's really good advice, because I think a lot of the time you try and think, or try and push it to one side. Don't feel scared, don't feel nervous, don't feel anxious. You try and change that emotion into something positive, but actually you have to acknowledge it's there. And maybe it can be a good thing in a way, because it can kind of get you in that state of real high focus when you're a little bit scared about something.
Yeah, and it's about being uncomfortable as well, as you said,
Yeah.
right? Feeling that discomfort and knowing that's normal, but that it's going to be worth it when you
Yeah.
get through it and do what you need to do anyway.
Okay, so where can people find you if they want to find more about pricing and growth?
You can find me at cooksonpartners.com is the website.
Okay.
And then my LinkedIn, Caroline Cookson. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there. So yeah, if you want to, those are the two best ways of finding me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, cool.